Mr. Wahlberg. Dr. Adams, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank the witnesses for being here today. Many of us here never would have imagined that we would be concerned about the safety of Jewish Americans in New York, of all places. Jewish Americans have faced some of the highest levels of anti-Semitic incidents since the FBI began monitoring. Anti-Semitic incidents at U.S. college campuses have increased in both number and intensity since October 7th. And as a former professor myself of 40 years, I'll tell you, on a campus, that is unacceptable. 73% of Jewish college students have experienced or witnessed some form of anti-Semitism since the beginning of the school year, and only 1/3 of Jewish students felt safe on campuses. I think every student should feel safe on any campus that they're studying on. But Mr. Scheiser, let me ask you, you are co-chair of the task force on anti-Semitism on your campus. How has the task force recognized the unique challenges that Columbia faces in dealing with protests and demonstrations, harassment allegations, and overall threats to segments of the student population while being an urban and open campus in one of the largest cities in the world?
It's a critical responsibility, Congresswoman, for exactly the reasons that you described. This is not an acceptable situation. I do want to say there are wonderful things happening at Columbia too, and part of what moves me is how many people have pitched in to make sure that we deal with this problem. But the problem is there and it is not yet fixed. And I will say that our first step was to look at rules for protests, and I am very grateful that our responses have been taken so seriously. And as I said, the university is implementing all of our recommendations, but we're only just getting started. We have another report coming out next month. We've got to look at student orientations. We've got to look at the way we train people who deal with students. We've got to look at the policies for student groups to make sure that people don't get excluded. And then we have more reports that we have in mind for next year, including careful research to get detailed insights into the people who've been victims of this discrimination, because we need to understand it and we need to stop it.
Thank you, sir. So you're expecting recommendations from this? Okay. So Columbia is over 270 years old. That's almost 3 decades, or 3 centuries, actually. And it wasn't until 1873 that Columbia became an integrated institution by allowing its first black student by the name of James R. Priest to enroll, who was also the son of a former slave. Over history, your missions and role have evolved as an institution of higher education. And my question to you is, how do the trustees work to ensure that Columbia remains true to its practice of progress while making sure that it is welcoming and responsive to demographic groups that it was not originally designed to serve? Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
So one of the great privileges of being at a university is a diverse student body, people who come from very different backgrounds, who then meet each other, learn from each other, learn with each other, and we need to be sure that that continues to happen in all the ways that universities do well. And one of the challenges of the recent months is that I think we've fallen short in various ways, but the aspiration is there, and our commitment to be welcoming and also open has to apply to everyone.
Thank you. So Ms. Shipman or Mr. Greenwald, would you like to respond? Got 57 seconds.
I agree with Professor Schizzer. Bringing diverse people to campus with coming from different backgrounds, different places in the country, different places from around the world is enriching to their educational experience.
Okay. Ms. Shipman?
I agree with that, Congresswoman. I would also say that fundamentally our institution has got to be about respect, and that is sorely lacking on our campus right now. And we can have diversity and different points of view, but if people are not listening and they're weaponizing their sentiments, nobody's learning.
Yes, ma'am. Well, certainly the goal should be to ensure that every member of a campus community can reach their full potential without additional burdens of stereotypes and biases and systemic barriers. And I hope that Columbia can take, and our universities can take some steps to support students on the ground. With that, Madam Chair, I'm going to yield back. I only have about 6 seconds.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.